ahead and get this right out of the way. So to start, let's come right over to our mass airflow sensor. I'm going to go ahead and grab onto this red tab, draw it away. Once it's unlocked, we can go ahead and press in on this center tab right here, and then remove this from the area. Inspect it, set it aside. Right here, there's a mounting point. Let's go ahead and lift up on this. Now we'll make our way to this hose right here. If you were to twist this a little bit, you're going to be able to find a little green tab. Just go ahead and pull up on that tab like this, and then gently pull this off. Inspect that as well, set it aside. Now we can move down along to the air filter housing here. You're going to find 2 mounting clips. Go ahead and pop those right off of there. We'll grab onto this, slide it out of its lower box. Now we're going to come up to this area right here, use an 8mm to loosen this clamp, and we can get this right out of the way. Now, since I have all that apart, let's go ahead and grab onto this air filter. You want to make sure that no dirt falls on this area here. Just go ahead and turn it over, inspect it, make sure it still looks like it's in good condition. This one right here needs to be replaced, but that's a story for another day. Now that we have all that out of the way, we have a nice clear view of our throttle body. To be able to start taking this apart, let's come right over to our electrical connectors. We have one on the forward aspect of this. You're going to find a red tab. I just want to try to get behind that, and I'm going to pull it towards me here. That pretty much unlocks it. And then you're going to find a little tab in the center that you can press in on, and then gently remove this. Every time you remove an electrical connector, just inspect it. This one looks good, so I'll set it aside. Now we can make our way back here. This one's a little bit harder to see, but it's pretty much the same thing. You're going to have a red lock on it. Just go ahead and slide it right out of position. That unlocks it. Press in on the center tab, and then remove it. That looks good. With all that disconnected, let's move along to our mounting bolts. Right here, we're going to go ahead and use a 10mm on this one. Once we get that out of the way, we can go ahead and remove this piece, and then we can start removing the rest of the bolts with an 8mm. There's that nut. Let's go ahead and set this aside. Let's go ahead and get this off of here. There it is, friends. Now that we have the throttle body out of the way, let's move along to this area right here. I'm going to use an 1 1/16" wrench to try to break this free from the EGR valve. Sometimes these can be stuck on here. It's a good idea to use some penetrant. There we go. That one wasn't too bad. Now let's move to the back side of the EGR valve. You're going to find a red and a black hose. Let's go ahead and start taking these off of here. Once you have those off of there, just go ahead and inspect the rubber. You want to make sure it's still in good condition. It's not dry rotted and cracked or hard in any way. This feels good. It should still seal on our brand new EGR valve. Let's continue on to this area right here. For this, there's a little connector that you want to go ahead and press in on the center here. Once you have that pressed down, you can go ahead and release this. Inspect it, set it aside. Now that we have all that disconnected, let's move along to the mounting bolts. You're going to find 2 of these. There's one 10mm headed bolt right here, and then there's one over on the other side. Let's remove the pair. Hold that EGR valve while we remove this last bolt. There we are. Now in between the EGR valve and this bracket right here, there should be a gasket. So let's go ahead and carefully start removing this. There's our gasket. We can set this aside. Go ahead and slide that EGR valve right up and out of there. There it is, friends. Now let's just go ahead and sand down this plate right here, right where the gasket's going to be. Let's continue on to taking care of the threads on our bolts. I'm just going to take these to the wire wheel, get them cleaned up. All right, now it's time to install our brand new EGR valve. Let's go ahead and take our new gasket. We're going to put it right up against the EGR valve. Now we can take our new bolts. We'll just start them right through here. Go ahead and press them through. You're going to find that there's tabs that essentially hold onto these. Just going to twist this to put it through. When you put the bolts through, you just want them coming through a tiny bit, just like this. Now we can go ahead and start installing this. We'll just get it lined up with the EGR tube, swing it down, try to line up our bolt holes. There we are. Now you just want to go ahead and start both of these mounting bolts in. We'll snug them up and then we'll torque this to manufacturer specification. Now that I have them both bottomed out, I'm going to go ahead and torque this to 18 foot-pounds. There's that one. Now I'll do the same to the other. Now that we have all that torqued, let's go ahead and start plugging everything in. Listen for a click, give it a tug, make sure that's secure. Let's move along to our two hoses here. Just gonna put those right on. We'll press this in. I wanna make sure this is completely bottomed out. We'll give that a little tug, make sure it's secure as well. Now at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and snug these up. All right, so right there, it's pretty much bottomed out. Now, if you wanted to torque this, if you had a crow's foot, you could torque this to 30 foot-pounds. For me personally, I don't necessarily have one, so I'm just gonna continue with my wrench. I just wanna make sure that it's nice and snug, but I don't wanna go ahead and break anything. The next thing that we wanna do is pay attention to this gray area right along here. This is the gasket or the seal that needs to be between the plastic intake and the throttle body. Go ahead and wipe it down. After you get it wiped down, you wanna inspect it. You wanna make sure it doesn't look like it's broken, torn, or worn in any way. Overall, it's a good idea to go ahead and replace it, but if you don't have a replacement, just inspect it. Now we can install our throttle body. Put this on here. Now we can go ahead and start in all of our mounting bolts. Now for the top rear one, we remember that's the one that has the stud on it. Get both of these started. Once we have these started, we can go ahead and bottom them out, and then we're gonna torque each of these to 80 inch-pounds. Now that we have all of our mounting bolts torqued, let's go ahead and take this little bracket here. We'll slide it over the stud. Get that in position. Now we can grab our nut. We'll put that on there, snug that up. All right, let's go ahead and snug this up. Make sure that's nice and snug. Now we can continue on to reconnecting things in. Now for this one right here, we're gonna go ahead and press this right on. Once it's on, you wanna squish this right in so it locks it in. Listen for a click, give it a tug, make sure it's secure, lock it in with that red tab. Now we can do this one over here. Same thing, press it in, lock it in with the red tab. Listen for a click, check it, lock it. Now we can put our air filter back in here. Now we can start putting the upper cover on. We're gonna have 3 tabs on this upper cover that need to fit into the 3 holes that are in the lower aspect of this. Let's go ahead and get those lined up, slide it in. We'll bring this down a little bit. And now we can start lining this up with the throttle body. Let's press that right on there. You wanna make sure that it's completely bottomed out against the throttle body. Now we can tighten up our clamp. Make sure that's nice and tight. You don't want any dirty or unmetered air getting sucked inside the engine. Now we can take our mass airflow sensor wire. We're gonna come right in between this area here, bring it around. We'll connect in the mass airflow sensor. Listen for that click, lock it down. Then we're just gonna re-secure this wire. Make our way down to this area here so we can latch in our air filter box. Perfect. Okay friends, we got the truck back together. Now you just want to hop inside of it, start it up, make sure you don't have a check engine light and the engine's running fine without a misfire. After that, take it for a road test. Thanks.